1 in 3. That's how many American men will face physical violence, sexual assault, or stalking by an intimate partner. 1 in 3 women worldwide will endure physical or sexual abuse, most often by someone they know. But domestic abuse isn't just bruises. It's manipulation, it's fear, it's control that seeps into every part of your life. I'm Ingrid Dutton, and I survived it. Then I created 1 in 3 so no one else has to suffer in silence. Each week, we break that silence together. Occasionally joined by survivors, loved ones, and experts, we talk about the pain, yes, but also about the healing, resilience, and the fight to reclaim your life. This podcast is more than awareness, it's a lifeline. And a reminder, you are seen, you are heard, you are never alone. Search for 1 in 3 wherever you get your podcasts, because every voice matters and every story deserves to be heard. We had the honor and pleasure of conversing with Hedy for this episode, which originally aired Monday, May 30th, 2022. In this, she chronicles her diagnosis and battle against glioblastoma. Following this episode, Hedy continued her fight with an outpouring of support from her friends and family. On December 15th, 2023, she peacefully was reunited with her father and met her Lord. She continues to be an inspiration to all. Before we get to Hedy, here is some information about glioblastoma. It is a rare yet very aggressive and often fatal form of brain cancer. It is most commonly found in Caucasian males with a median age of 64 years. The survival rate is only approximately 5% at 5 years.
Yeah, I know we don't have a lot of time, so I don't know if you want to.
Let's get to it.
Okay. Do you want to maybe just do a little background about yourself?
Sure.
First, okay.
Sure. So I guess I've known you guys since grade school, so back in the 90s, right? And
yeah.
But after high school, actually during high school, I joined the military my junior year of high school. So I joined the Wisconsin National Guard when I was 17. So it's been 29 years in the Guard now. July will be 29 years for me, but, on and off active duty, deployments here and there. My last assignment when I was diagnosed was as the APMS or assistant professor of military science at the University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire. So I had done my first 18 years as a non-commissioned officer. So I made my way up to E7 or Sergeant First Class. And then I switched to become an officer in 2011. I did graduate from Martin Luther College, though, so I did teach at Luther Prep in Watertown for a couple of years, and before I got deployed. And then I ended up having like back-to-back deployments, and I ended up just staying on active duty. And so then that kind of my career and the course of my life just kind of went with the military then. So I spent a lot of my time away from home and, having to balance that, because my husband's also military and he's retired military. And he retired in 2018, April of 2018. So I think in that manner, it's kind of been a blessing because he's able to be around all the time. I guess, so military, a teacher, coach, as far as like fitness enthusiast, my entire life, I've competed in bodybuilding, CrossFit. That one's more recent, but I did a half Ironman.
Wow.
So endurance sports and, oh goodness. But, through college, I played sports too. So I had never played soccer before and I ended up loving soccer. So I ended up playing all 4 years of soccer in college and then softball as well. This year, recently, I started reffing basketball too. So I was able to ref my son's basketball games, and I coached his team for a little bit too. at St. Paul and Toma for a little bit.
No kidding.
Yeah. So we had, I've had a lot of time that I've had to kind of force to get in there to make sure I spend time with my family. But I want to say that's always kind of, I hate to say that because I think back on it and I think, man, I really and I don't know if you can say when you do sign that dotted line and you take that oath and, for your country, I think a lot of times you end up like it takes precedence over everything else because you don't really have a choice. It's almost like I swore that I would do this. And so it's not like I can be like, well, sorry, I don't want to do this anymore. Or I don't want to go or whatever, So I think that was, it's certainly not a regret, but it's something that I think with being diagnosed with GBM, it just kind of made everything come to a head as far as realizing and recognizing what's really important in life. Mm-hmm. Did you want me to talk about like leading up to?
Yes. Quick question. How old is your son now?
He's 14.
14. Okay.
Yeah. In fact, he wants to go to prep. So he's going to go to Luther Prep next year. So,
yeah. That's awesome. And then did you meet your husband in the military?
I did. Yeah. We both were recruiting. Like when I came back from deployment, that's what I spent most of my career was with recruiting and retention command. And then I switched to become an officer and I took command of the 108th Forward Support Company in Sussex, after being a lieutenant, at the 108th. And then I was also in the 157th Maneuver Enhancement Brigade, but part of the Field Artillery Unit. And, I ran a company. I had a company of about 125 soldiers, but we were part of the field artillery, so we supplied logistical support for a field artillery battalion, and then I was a training officer for a little while, and then I don't want to say ironically because, well, maybe it is, I guess a little bit, but I ran the Army Resilience Schoolhouse in Fort McCoy for a few years, so we have taught how to overcome like obstacles in your life, build relationships, because we've had in the military in particular, we have a lot of people with PTSD, a lot of people that were deployed. You come back from deployment and you're trying to figure out how to fit back into civilian life. And so I look back on all of these things in my life and I think, God really like kind of laid the groundwork and prepared me for what I'm going through right now in particular.
My husband's still active duty and I was in the Navy for a little bit, but like now I work for the VA as a social worker. And actually one of the things that we see is that a lot of people that have the hardest times are like the reservists and the National Guard because they come back and your unit's not together anymore.
Exactly.
Like when you're active duty, y'all stay together. And
yes.
So it's super hard. So exactly what you're talking about. It's just so much harder for you guys.
Yeah, and people trying to go back to school too. It's often difficult because when you've seen the things you've seen overseas and in third world countries, and then coming back to the richest country in the world, and you see that people take so much for granted. It's tough to integrate back into the college life and be around. I think people that you almost have to kind of bite your tongue and just be accepting and be tolerant of other people that have, that maybe aren't necessarily thankful or recognize what they have because they've never seen anything else or they've never been forced to be in any kind of pressure or high stress situation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If you want to go ahead and lead up into sorry for that kind of sidetrack, but
no, that's okay. So everything started, honestly, I started at ROTC as the assistant professor of military science in July of 2019. And I want to say maybe a month after that, because I remember when the first incident happened, I was in the weight room and I remember I was warming up with a bench press and I just remember having it was lightweight for me and it should have been lightweight for me. But what happened is as I pushed up, my left side just completely gave out and I ended up kind of having to roll the weight off me. I remember thinking, what's going on with my left side? So I lowered the weight. I lightened the load, and still same thing. Like this side just was giving out on me. So I ended up, you know what, I'm just going to go get checked out. And then I proceeded to go through physical therapy for a good year and a half because, you know, insurance makes you do all the physical therapy before they decide, hey, let's do an MRI or let's see if there's something else going on. So they you know, they kept saying, you're a medical mystery, because my left side, especially towards the back of my arm, my tricep, back of my rear delt, back of my shoulders, they were, or it was completely atrophying compared to my right side. And they did the MRI, but they only did it from the neck down. And they saw, oh, well, you know, I'm 45. At that time, I was early 40s, and they said, you have, you know, spinal degeneration, it looks like, which is pretty common for, you know, being in your 40s. So that wasn't unusual. But what they saw was like maybe a pinched nerve. And that's what they were thinking that was causing all of the discomfort and the lack of strength on that side. So they were like, let's do an epidural, do a trigger shot, and see if that fixes it. And before I was able to do that, I woke up one morning and I ended up like I got up and I was like, whoa, what's going on? The whole room started spinning and I just like fell backwards back into bed. And I was really nauseous. So and we have PT at 6:00 in the morning. And I've never missed a PT session or physical training session with the cadets, you know, and I ended up saying, hey, honey, talking to my husband, can you take me to the emergency room? Something's not right. And I'm usually not one to even, that's not my go-to. Let's go to the emergency room. Right. I could tell, I just felt something was off. They did a bunch of like just visual tests, and they were like, I can't remember the name of this maneuver, but they're like turning your head in different directions really quickly and they're lying down, but they thought that I had vertigo. And so I started seeing a physical therapist for vertigo. And this was in April of 2021. I started seeing, or March of 2021, when I started seeing a physical therapist for vertigo. And I ended up getting a trigger shot and the epidural. And neither one of them seemed to work very well. I had gone to Michigan to my niece's confirmation. And so it's like a 6-hour drive there, 6-hour drive back. And on the way home, I was experiencing numbness in my left hand. It was lasting maybe 30 seconds. And I knew to time it, to time if, you start feeling these, weird things. Cause I was thinking of, I wonder if I'm having a stroke. I kept thinking that. And then it lasted 30 seconds or so. And then on the way home, like the whole left side of my body felt like ice. And I thought, and I was driving, so I ended up pulling over.
Oh gosh.
And walking around, and then the feeling started coming back onto that side. So I had called my husband and I said, this is really weird. He's like, well, are you sure you're okay to drive? And I said, yeah, we'll make it home, which I did. I made it home, but I just thought I'm going to let my physical therapist know that I was having this numbness. So the physical therapist the next day said, that's not normal. She said, I'm going to let your primary care doctor know. And I want to say maybe 10 minutes after I left the physical therapist's office, my doctor called and she said, she's like, something isn't right. She said, you need to get, she's like, if you have another bout of that numbness, she said, go directly to the emergency room. And she said, let's make an appointment for the next day, which would have been Wednesday. Wednesday was the next day. And so I was going to meet her in the morning. Well, that Tuesday night, I went I have a home gym, and I was working out in my home gym, and it was it was a heavier workout of like a pulling and pushing movements. And I just remember feeling so much pressure in my head, and I dropped my phone and I was trying to pick it up and my hand just kept like flopping. Like it was just I couldn't move it. It was just dead. And I said out loud, I said, what's wrong with my hand? And I could hear my voice slurring, and I could feel like drool coming out this side of my face or out of my mouth. And I was like, what is going on? And so I thought I was having a stroke for sure. So I came inside and I yelled for my husband. I said, I got to go to the ER. I said, I think I'm having a stroke. And so, yeah. And so he drove and called the emergency room and let them know I was coming. So they were ready for me when I got in. And they took me in to get a CAT scan. And then they were, doing all these vision tests again. And I can still see the lady or the female doctor that was kind of pacing back and forth outside of my room. And she was doing this. She was like shaking her hands. And I said, it's not a good sign. That wasn't good. And so she came in and she, put the image of my brain on the screen. And she said, we found, it took me 8 minutes to get the courage to come in here. And she's like, I never like to deliver this kind of news, but she said, you have what appears to be a black mass on the right temporal lobe. She's like, I don't know what it is. She said, but you're likely going to be here in the hospital for a really long time. And I thought, you mean like starting now? I have to stay here? She said, she goes, well, no, she said, but in and out. She's like, because we don't know exactly what it is. She said, I think it's a tumor. And it was a pretty good size. Like the image always looks larger than I think what it actually is. Because they said it was like 3 centimeters, which doesn't sound very big to me. But what I could see around the tumor was a large blackness around the tumor, which was swelling because the tumor was starting to grow to such a point where it was pushing my brain and certain parts of my brain that was affecting this entire side of my body. And it was getting very dangerous. And they were like, you need surgery immediately. And then we need to test, we need to take fluid from the tumor to find out what kind of a tumor it is. And they needed to find out if I had any other tumors in my body. And so even at that moment, I thought, I'm naturally a positive person. So I was just, it's got to be benign. I'm like 40 years old. I'm in good health. There's, I eat well. I watch what I eat. And I thought there's no way that this is going to be anything serious. So, but at the same time, I was, I don't think I slept at all that night. I just kept running through different scenarios. And even at that time, I had a really hard time focusing and just like coming back to, my faith and my foundation. Like, what should I be doing right now? I was so wrapped up in this. What is it going to be, or what am I going to find out? And they came back and they said it is definitely a tumor, and it was over Memorial Day weekend, so literally almost a year ago to the day. And I had the surgery. I didn't even make it to surgery. I had to come in early because I was having such terrible nausea, headaches, drooling was constant, and I was even starting to drag my left leg a little bit. It was starting to not function. And gosh, I just remember going in and they said, we're going to be able to remove some of it. We're not going to be able to remove all of it because glioblastoma is they didn't know this at the time, but they were going to try to remove as much as possible without risking damaging anything like my, motor skills or anything with cognitive abilities or memory loss or anything like that. So I had to wait until after Labor or Memorial Day weekend. So I had to wait until Tuesday for the pathology report to find out what kind of a tumor it was. And so Tuesday, the doctor had come back in and he said it's a glioblastoma. It's a malignant tumor. And I never heard of GBM. I've never heard of it before. It's a rare brain cancer, and it's the most deadly brain cancer there is. Usually, overtaking somebody, and they told me 7 to 12 months is how much time I had left, and that's with treatment. That was with the chemo and the radiation. But at the same time, I guess I always start like, well, what kind of patients do you normally have? I'm like, is this pretty common for someone? Like, I'm like, what did I do? What did I do something that caused this? And they said it can be genetic. It can be, exposure to radiation. And I don't know. I don't know if I was ever exposed to radiation. I may have been, but they said it's typically found in white males, 60 to 80 years. Yeah. And it's, 1 in every 300,000 people in the world have GBM or get diagnosed with GBM. And every case is different. That's what makes it so just unpredictable, because every single case is, everybody's cancer. If you have cancer, the cancer cells are made up of different types of cells or different type of DNA cells that respond differently to different types of medications. And so, part of it was figuring out what my cells are made of. They just don't know. So it's almost like you're playing a guessing game. And what they found is that radiation and chemo normally work to help extend somebody's life, to that 7 to 12 months. Most patients don't live beyond 2 years. And in fact, they said most die within that year. And so, for me, again, it was almost like when he said those words, I want to say when he said the numbers, it's like that's the kind of the elephant in the room. Like, how much time have I got left? It's like, we probably have all been asked that question, like, what would you do if you knew you had X amount of time to live? And I think I remember just at that moment, that's when everything became very clear to me. Like, I just felt this overwhelming sense of peace and calmness about my life, because I was thinking, this is, being like having such a love or intrinsic love and joy of fitness, nutrition, my faith from the time, being baptized all the way up until, adulthood, and thinking about being in the Army and all of the obstacles and challenges, being a woman in the military, I guess, in particular, to being a minority female in the military, a lot of different obstacles to overcome and challenges that you always are thinking about. I'm an underdog and I have to outdo my male counterparts or, just competitions all in general. And being the officer in charge of the Army Resilience Program, having to teach it, you have to live it. You can't just teach it and not live it. And so those are things that I think, practicing those certain things on a daily basis, devotions and things like that too, I think had started to fall to the wayside because I was so caught up in, the rat race of life. Kids got sports and COVID was just kind of coming to an end too. And people were trying to figure things out. Everybody was afraid of everything and to go anywhere and do anything. But I think, like I said, that entire year, I mean, the amount of support from my friends, from my Army friends and family, my own family, my church family, my fitness family, it was just overwhelming, the support that I got. I mean, they ran a competition in my name, and I, got to see all these people that came for me to, compete. And it was just a really, awesome experience. And they did that in September. And I still remembered thinking, like, this was, in June that they were starting to plan for it. And I was like, boy, I really hope I'm alive in September to see that, just to think about, the future in terms of, I wonder if I'm going to be there for that and be okay with that. You're sad, like the things that you're going to miss out on. But I know that, no matter what, I don't have any control over this. It's not something that I can, I can, eat the right foods, I can exercise, but, it's not, those things don't cure cancer. And this is what God had in store for me. And I really think that it's a message. It's a clear message. Because I think when I started talking about it to those around me too, they're like, I'm going to start, spending more time with my family. I'm going to start, if anything, it made people realize that we just can't take life for granted, can't take what we've been given and what we've been blessed with. Our time here on earth is limited. And, the glory that we will see, Romans 8:18, I always think about that Bible passage in particular. All the sufferings that we have in life now are, don't compare to what will be revealed to us later. So I think of that too. But I think that's it. Just the hardest part is, knowing what you're leaving behind. And I think I'm a natural empath. Like I feel what other people feel, and I can, you walk into a room and you can kind of, you feel the energy from different people, or you feel their lack of energy. And, those are the things that, with my son too, it's like, I want him to always feel, my energy around, even when I am gone. And so I think that's just the hardest part, is not knowing I'm going to miss some of those things. But at the same time, staying positive about the future, because there are a lot of, no, I shouldn't say a lot, but there are people that make it to, 5, 10. I think I met somebody the other day that's been living with GBM for, I think, 19 years.
Oh,
and
wow.
she's had like 9 surgeries, maybe 10. It's struggling, but she's happy, and she's, in awe of God as well. So those people that I talk to are a sense of comfort and inspiration for me too.
Do you have like a support group, or how did you get into contact with?
The Facebook has quite a few support groups for glioblastoma, and there's there's support groups for caregivers too, because that's something that we don't often think about. Because I mean, me personally, I do, because like I said, I do tend to be an empath when it comes to other people, but I want to. You don't think of the people that are, I hate to, I mean, it sounds kind of mean, but they're stuck caring for you.
Right.
And I know they don't look at it like that. I guess I think about it in those terms too, because I feel like, you feel somewhat of a burden, being that person. But I know that they don't feel like that. Most, not, I don't know, I can't think of one person. Every single person is all, from church, from, like, what can I do for you? Can you, and that was overwhelming at first too, because I don't know. I don't know. You can pray for me. That's what I need. I need prayers. And, my family has always been there for me. My sister, Johanna, and she came up with her girls, and they spent the summer, literally, they spent the summer with me, helping out at home while I was going through chemo and radiation. And then my brother, Junior too, he's been a pastor for, gosh, over 20 years now. And, he's now the dean at Michigan Lutheran High School in St. Joseph. Yeah. So he and, his family, he had come up for a while too, to help out and periodically. But, when you guys asked me to do this, I was, I still feel well, and I'm doing okay yet. But, my last MRI did reveal tumor regrowth, and that it was like it's in the exact same spot. So it's this side of my head, and it's like a C shaped here, where they'll cut an incision in the same exact spot and try to debulk it as much as possible. And glioblastoma is a cancer that it has like tentacles that are not seen. You can't see them in an MRI. So even if the tumor looks like it's in a certain location, the origin of it is probably somewhere else in your brain, and it more than likely spreads. And so, like, I've met people, like one of my friends I just became friends with, because she has GBM and she's had it for 3 years. She had her recurrence almost a year to the date after her first surgery as well, but she had 4 new tumors that had appeared. And so, a lot of people say that too, that the second time around, it's not a matter of if you'll get tumors, it's a matter of when the tumors are going to reappear, where they're going to be, because some get into like inoperable locations, and then your resources and the capability as far as like you have to kind of try to find clinical trials. You're like, okay, I'll be your guinea pig. And it has to be to a point where they've done all of their testing on the mice and animals, and like, okay, now we're ready for human trials. And I imagine most people that have GBM have the same feelings I have. If I'm going to die anyway, I want to have a purpose for, I want to be able to provide information for those in the future that have it that could be helpful. Like if the things that I was doing was, outside of treatment has helped, it's something that they can use. But I was in a clinical trial initially after my first standard of care treatment after radiation and chemotherapy. And it was working, I guess, because I had every single MRI I've had up until this last one. They were all stable. And everything looked good. And this last one showed like significant, I thought, and it's crazy because literally 9 weeks ago, my last MRI looked clear. Like there was nothing there. Except for there's like a space there. And, but then this time you could see that there was definitely growth, that there was something there. And then there was a lot of black surrounding it, meaning there was swelling that was occurring. And I kind of had that feeling though, because I would say this last, 2 weeks prior to that MRI, I was experiencing numbness in my hand and, I was having some headaches. And, I think that's one of the harder things about GBM too, is like every time you have some sort of, oddity or nuance that you're not used to seeing, the first thing is like, is it the tumor? The tumor's growing again. You're thinking that it's the tumor. Wherein I was probably on 20 different medications, and that any medication that you're on, they'll cause certain side effects, I had a number of different side effects from chemoradiation to include the hair loss. And, I went through a whole bunch of different hairstyles, I say, over the last year, from like I was completely bald for, I think, I shaved in November. So I was completely bald in November, and my hair grows pretty fast because a lot of it's, back now, but there's a really good chance I'll probably have to shave it. Like I won't go through radiation again because it's so hard on the body. They only have people do it once. So after this, I'm trying to get into another clinical trial. But if I don't, there's more FDA approved, devices that I guess have shown to at least extend a person's life longer than what they would have had they not done anything. And that device is called the Optune. And you have to shave your head every day. And there are these like nodes that they're called arrays, but they are on your head all the time. And you have like a battery pack. So cumbersome, but if, I'll do whatever I have to do to stick around. I mean, that's, those are simple little things. And it's like, I'm the kind of person that, if this is what I have to do, I kind of liken it to, I don't know if you guys if you breastfed, but I breastfed, and I remembered thinking, I don't care how hard it is, doing it, and it was so bad because he didn't want to latch, and he was, and I think it was maybe around month 3 where I had, and you're bleeding and you're like, oh, is it getting into the milk? And, you're just, it's bad. But then it's like, there gets to a point where you're like, I'm just going to keep on doing it. It's fine. It'll be fine. And then it did, it got better. It got, and you just kind of work through it. So it's kind of one of those deals where it's like, if you have to do it, in the why or your reason for doing it is beneficial and good for, for him. It was like, it's better for him as far as nutrition wise goes. So I was like, I'm just going to do it no matter what. And I have the same feeling here, whatever I have to do, if there's something that I can control that's within my, means of doing so, I'm going to do that. And especially knowing that I look at each of those things as God's way of sending these things to me. It's like, don't ignore this. And, it's put in front of me because he's putting it in front of me, and I need to take advantage of that. So, and the fact that I'm able to walk, because out of surgery, I couldn't, I had a cane, I had a walker first. And, I just remember not being able to do anything with this hand. I remember picking up sticks and like trying to just pick them up and put them in this little hole. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it on the left side. My right side was like super quick. And this side I couldn't do it. I couldn't chew. It took me like 2 hours to eat. It was awful. And so it's like, you think, I never thought, am I ever gonna, that was never a question. It wasn't, am I ever, I'm like, it's just like every single day you wake up, it's a new day, a new start. And you just get better every day. And I mean, that's it. It works. And, starting your day with a devotion, starting your day, like thanking God for being here, and, giving you another day to, represent and show that, our time here is grace, is our time of grace here, and not to waste it.
Do you have a favorite scripture
So
verse?
many. So many.
I know you do.
Oh my gosh, so many. I think if you see this, but this is Philippians 4:13. You probably can't see it; looks backwards right now. But I can do all things through Him who gives me strength. And then I also have one up here, and it says iron sharpens iron, but Proverbs 27:13. Kind of one of the mantras I live by too. If you surround yourself with people that build you up, it makes you better. And
did your niece get that too?
She
recently?
did. My niece, yep,
Okay,
one of my very closest friends, Shay. She also. So the three of us got that
I love
tattoo.
that.
And then I have one on this side as well, and it's a shield with a rose in it, but it's Ephesians 6:11. But put on the full armor of God. Is that the passage that I have on this and I had this one before any of this happened, but it's always been kind of that don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of things. Don't be afraid of failing. Don't just fail if you have to, fail if you must, but everything's part of that learning process, and you have to go through failures. You have to go through these trials to get stronger. And one of my uncle from my husband's side sent me this poster of Rocky Balboa, and it's how it's not how many times you fall or how many times you get knocked down. It's getting back up and just keep on going. I thought that was a pretty cool thing. And then the Edelweiss pin. I'd never heard of it, or Edelweiss flower. I've never heard of like what it meant, but the Edelweiss flower is a flower that only grows in the Swiss Alps, the highest points of the Swiss Alps. So it represents like strength, and because not many people climb to the top, and are able to find that flower. So if you obtain that flower, it's a symbol of strength and courage. So I thought that was a really neat gift that he gave me as well, before my second surgery here. So my second surgery is Tuesday, this Tuesday. So right after Memorial Day. And like I said, it's just ironic that it's like almost a year to the day from my last one. So praying that'll be my last surgery, at least for a while, and I'll recover a little better this time around. And it's all, I've done it before. So I'm definitely more confident going into, and to add to it, I don't have very many symptoms right now. They're minor, because the first time around it was so bad. I just remember it was dire that I have that surgery immediately. Whereas this time they caught it early enough where I have a little bit of time here, but it is aggressive. It does grow fast, without treatment. So surgery is the first step, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Now, with your first surgery, I think, you were asking for people to send you like inspirational things?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I could probably send you a picture of my weight room, but I've got posters. I've framed a majority of the things that people sent me. So my entire gym is lined with inspirational sayings, with Bible passages, with flags and things like that. But just, every time, and I go in there every day, and every day I see all of these signs. So not only I'm never working out alone. I always feel like there's people around me and people pushing me to don't waste a day, even if I'm tired, and there were so many days like that. But I have not stopped. I had lost so much muscle. And it's disheartening, because you spend my entire life has been, focused on, building muscle, maintaining muscle, and you go through periods where, your goal is different. But I had never been in a situation where I just looked and I'm like, what happened, or what's going on with me? Like the skin was just peeling off me. And I couldn't even do like a quarter squat. I remember like getting halfway. I'm like, there's no muscles in my legs. I had that, the skinny Asian butt.
the shovel butt.
Yeah. Where's my butt that I worked so hard for? Yeah. So, but it came back because it's just like that discipline and that consistency. And so I have that same mindset, just one day at a time.
Do you have any more fundraisers coming up or any?
I think the competition that my friends ran was at Hoplite CrossFit in Sparta, and they did it in September, and they're looking at doing it again, and doing T-shirts again too. So, I think if she does do that, I could send something out for you guys, or if somebody wants to get a T-shirt too, that would be cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that's probably around the corner here.
Okay. I know you need to get going. Is there anything that you want to say to like anyone in particular, or just people in general?
I think people in general with, because GBM is such a rare thing. I mean, the likelihood of somebody else listening to this and saying, oh yeah, I have GBM too, but I mean, anything like cancer just seems to be so prevalent, and it's not a death sentence, and to be honest, I mean, we all have a death sentence, right? I mean, we're all going to die at some point in time. It's just, you don't think that, this early in life it's going to happen. But, God can call us home at any time. And the fear is not dying, or, it's a beautiful thing to think about being with my Savior. But at the same time, you worry about, here. And that's something that I think I have to let go. And I would suggest other people do that too, because you just live every day as though you cherish everybody, you love everybody that you're around. And, despite what's going on in the world today, that close circle of people that really mean something to you, those are the people that you value, and everything else kind of fades into the background.
Okay. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much I had no idea any of that. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me too. I know my sister had mentioned that she had spoken to you, and I hope I'm an open book. If you have questions, feel free to reach out, or just saying hey.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're going to keep tabs on everything. I think we are going to switch this around. I think we're going to actually release this next week. Normally we do Mondays. I think maybe we'll try to do it normally we do it Tuesdays. I think maybe we'll try to do it Monday, and maybe we can get a couple extra people to shoot prayers your direction.
Yeah, that'd be great. Great.
So you'll go into surgery with support from everyone.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Ingrid and Jessica. Thank you for making time.
Hedy, thank you very much for showing us your strength and your resilience and your positive outlook, your sense of humor.
You're still my role model. Even more now.
And I know you were talking about, feeling your presence. I think you have it's been like we're figured out over 30 years since we've really seen you, but even just via Facebook, you have such a strong presence about you that your presence will be felt for a very long time. And I think I'm happy that we get to help share that presence with anyone who's listening.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So,
all right.
Okay. You guys have a wonderful rest of your night.
Thank you. You too. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. She is amazing. Hedy, you're amazing.
One thing I wanted to share, the numbers of glioblastoma, it sounds so trivial when you think 1 in 300,000. But there are some well-known people that were diagnosed. Neil Peart, the drummer for Rush, was diagnosed, and 3.5 years later, he passed away at the age of 67 years. Senator Ted Kennedy.
What?
Yes. He was diagnosed after having seizures on May 17th, 2008. And at the age of 77, he passed away August 25th of 2009. So just over a year.
Wow. I did not know that.
Senator John McCain, he went in for surgery I think it was to have a blood clot removed. And that was July 14th of 2017. He passed away at the age of 81 on August 24th of 2018, just a few days shy of his 82nd birthday. Mm-hmm. Robert Forster is an actor. He was diagnosed in June of 2019, passed away October of 2019, just 4 months later at the age of 78. Attorney General of Delaware, Beau Biden.
He did?
Yes. He presented with headache, paralysis, and numbness. Was diagnosed in August of 2013 and at the age of 46. Passed away May of 2015. You guys, thank you for listening. Please share it. Let's get some recognition for glioblastoma, get some recognition for Hedy. Maybe we can help out in any way we can.
Stay grateful. Be grateful. That's a fantastic message. And well, thanks everyone for listening. Sorry you heard a lot of crying. Prayers for Hedy.
I forgot what our little mantra is.
No, stay sane, stay sober.
Grateful. I think so.
That's not it. It's been a long day. Stay sane, stay happy, stay healthy.
Stay grateful.
Stay grateful.
Thanks, you guys. Bye.
Bye.
If you would like to reach out to us or submit your situation, please contact us at anothersituationpodcast@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Another Situation Podcast. We're also on Facebook at Another Situation. Another Situation is produced and edited by Point 5 Pinoy. Music is written and performed by Tim Crow.